And then for each chat, I sort of separated.
It depends what you care about. If you care about like national pride, no, it's like the Jamaican ball state team, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
But I did this though. So basically, I loaded all of the lesson plans, and then I also like uploaded my preferred pedagogical style. So I have every chat being like teach me the way I want it. Like this is something that could go here. But I had this created as an artifact. I had like, so basically when I did chat 1, then at the end of that chat I asked it to create like 2 assessments for me. One was like how much you think that you learn, and second was capture all of the learning preferences I displayed in this chat so that I can use it to guide the remainder. And then I did that. This one?
Yeah.
I'm gonna learn about like, I was like hobbies. It's like a new concept that I can have hobbies. So I was gonna learn
This one is
over the summer. I like bought a random like 14th century Italian.
So I did that, and then I have this basically I just got into the project, so that it just gets added as an artifact. And I do this for like pretty much many of my other tracks as well. So this was when I was exploring biomanufacturing. So every chat that I add some interesting insights into, I ask Claude to create a transcript, and I upload the transcript to the project document collection. So when I do that, then it has like basically context for everything, and then it's able to move activity.
What about you?
So what I do is I try to, I'm really big on giving it an identity. So like,
you're trying to get back online, so I was wondering what's your medium.
I had to decide that because
I try to push it to like, not just spit out answers, but like really be a thought partner and like ask questions.
like that personal connection of like, hey,
Like right now I'm building
Hello,
a Mac.
I feel so connected to you right now.
AGI,
Yeah, I get it.
attention is all.
We're very kind of like shitting on everything.
One word?
Yeah, all lowercase.
it's like HGI house follow up here.
Or example, like, I'll just remember, like, texting somebody, I was like, Mark, you would answer.
Oh, that's pretty. Alright, do not send for text.
No, just give me, like, a last name, unless
Give me your social security number. What is your due diligence?
It seems like a relatively remote place.
But like, okay, so like right now I'm doing like Mac OS, and like Mac OS is like kind of obscure.
Yeah, if I don't know who the fuck you are, just like, I don't. I said, I'm not doing something where
I've got like,
right? Like, I'm just kind of like.
it's like there's a lot of shit with Mac OS.
I'm working,
Like,
right? I'm just loading.
Swift, but like it'll inject like iOS methods to do stuff, and that's like very annoying. Yeah, so this is my guy. He's an Apple, but he's got multiple IC companies. And like, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere.
So, yeah, and like if you need more information, ask for it.
How does that work? It's just like, oh, my family has one, so I want to start investing. Like, I don't know how this happens.
Oh, well, first you
Engineering
need to
philosophy.
see someone
So
who
like,
have like.
this guy's like a legendary.
I know. I've read for those ones, so I
Yeah,
So like,
And whatever,
and I have to write it in his voice,
Right,
right? Because I'm like biasing
Yeah.
the next tokens. And then I have like, well, I have like Mac OS 15 came out, like broke a bunch of shit. And so I have like, I did like Gemini 2.5 Pro deep research, and I did Claude, and then kind of like combine them and like compress them, you know, double check each other's. Yeah, and so just like, kind of my theory is that like knowledge is stored intelligence. So like you can either, it's kind of like in the real world, you can either have like a genius, you can have like Enrico Fermi and try to figure out how to like fix your car from scratch, or you can get like an idiot who's just really talented, just knows how to do it. You know what I mean? And so if you could just solve as many of the problems with like knowledge, yeah, so like I just,
I I've never, like, I usually don't do the custom project instructions. I usually start a chat and then I have it generate its own instructions based on what references it captures from my way of and then I add it to the project documentation.
Yeah, I got like
Welcome
You have
to Open Source AGI. Great to have all of you.
Yeah.
Let's all bring it in. So if you can, come to this front row of chairs and let's have a little cozy experience. Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to
Should I read it? Would you recommend I read it?
Oh, I don't know. But like this guy
Wonderful. So, first and foremost, welcome to Open Source AGI. Put on by the wonderful Common Wars. Demi has been supporting this event. Thank you so much. The idea here is pretty simple, but also quite subversive. It's the idea that there are all of these moments in the history of AI where it's unclear whether or not AI will be open, that is accessible to the masses, modifiable in whatever way that we would like, or will it be closed, will be owned by Facebook, by Google, by the basically massive oligarchs who have managed to own a huge fraction of our technologies. When we think about the experience of the internet that we have, we know it's colored by this small handful of sites, but there's a past, a history we all remember, where the internet was an open place, where everyone had their own custom site and made their own little thing, as opposed to using these sort of like mass aggregator systems that have turned everything into really like a small number of ponds that have the internet feeling much more like out of our control. So the intent today is to basically take AI as a technology that could be in one way or the other. I kind of think of the bizarre of the way that Stable Diffusion got modified in up 2 ways by people basically training these like local worlds and modifications of them, as compared with large language models, which have mostly been dominated by teams that are incredibly well resourced, turning models into really like the only way to sort of have the best possible experience. It's like impossible to, on your own, create the best LLM, so you end up making all these sacrifices and losing the experience of personalization, customization, and openness that we hope we can get. So what we'd like to encourage are basically projects that allow for both compute access and for model access. And we have a number of prizes, but the core idea is to imagine compute frameworks, coordination mechanisms, ways to keep LLMs open. So one example is Mike Nuke, the CEO of Zapier, wanted to sponsor the creation of an LLM based on an early version of Llama. I don't know if you remember, but Facebook tried to stop people from taking Llama on. It was a research project, and you had to register, and you weren't allowed to share the weights to others. And there was this question in that moment, is it possible that state-of-the-art LLMs may be open? Similar story almost a year later, when Facebook comes out with this sort of like 4 or 5B model, and there's this big legal and political question of whether open source AI will happen, until the sort of Chinese models, Plan, DeepSeek, etc., really enforce the sense that intelligence would be democratized one way or the other, because the rest of the world wouldn't tolerate a US-dominated world in AI. And so there are all of these projects which have been released and which have had this sort of big effect on whether or not people feel like they have access. We'd like to encourage those here today. So I'd like to invite Kyle, the founder of Jenny, to say a few words about the future of compute and the intentions of this event. But first and foremost, let's hear a round of applause for him.
Thanks, Jeremy. So this is following the Denny conference, Democratizing Intelligence conference we did yesterday, which is the third of such events. Right, the first one actually kicked off on the 27th of the previous year. So we had George Hotz fly in and crashed at the house, and we were all trying to like commoditize the petaflop by basically creating an abstraction layer over GPUs so that you could run the same machine learning workload on any type of compute. That's an example of democratizing intelligence, making it easier. Effectively, you can reduce it to how do you make it easier for more entrants to build and use state-of-the-art AI. Another way you can think of it is how many people control state-of-the-art AI. So in a world where it is like an authoritarian regime where like a single government, you can see in the most extreme case, one government has this like data center and then they say, we have this technology, it's basically like a nuke, nobody else can it is all fully regulated. And then two governments begin warring on each other over who has the best model. That is like an example of how this could evolve in a way that creates a lot of societal conflict. And so, the purpose of the summit And the hackathon is to explore ways from, not just on the specifically like an app or a software layer, but the conference explores like, on the governmental policy, like all the different ways people coordinate in order to make sure that there is a future where we actually have more sovereign control over creating something that is effectively beyond anything we've ever created before. It's called demi because we're effectively creating demigods in our image. They speak like us, they think like us. They are exceeding our capabilities in many areas. And historically, when one tribe has a technology that far exceeds what any other tribe has, we know how that plays out. That can lead to a lot of conflict, a lot of there's a lot of ways it can happen. And so we want this to be good for the world. The companies like OpenAI that have begun with the heroic mission of making AI good for humanity in the world, naturally the way the incentives roll out is these projects become closed because, and then you can ask the question of why does this happen? You say, well, to build a good model, I need compute. To get compute, it's expensive, so I need money. To get money, I need investment. And to get investment, well, investors want something closed because that's more valuable in the economy. And so you can see how these things like all kind of interplay off of each other. And so if you're like a founder trying to build in the space, it was becoming less and less trivial of like how do you actually like build something that has an open source component or something that helps push forward this theme, well, making a living, building a good company, operating within the incentive gradients. And so this hackathon is like different, in a few different ways. So one is it is like decentralized in the sense of like the theme of Demi. So there's going to be people participating remote. We have a shelling point for the kickoff, which is at the house. There's some people that are like, busy hacking as of like last night from the conference. We'll have the shelling point tomorrow evening for demos of the event. So the venue will be open for everyone until after demos tomorrow night. You're free to be here, use the space, we'll have food. The other thing that's different is, some hackathons are very focused on like an existing vertical, like we're going to build RAG or something, or we're going to build something for like retail or something to pick an industry. An interesting part about this is there's a wide range of topics that you can hit. So I think this favors the polymath or the somebody who's like really wants to explore a new topic. So you could do a research demo. This would qualify. You could say, one person in the community created Laura was at the conference yesterday. So you might be thinking, oh, here's how we can make models run on smaller devices. I have this research proposal and I did some experiments over the weekend to try out this new idea. You could also be coming in with software infrastructure and say, I'm making a pip library that helps you interop models across more types of compute or run something on a local device. And here's how it makes AI easier to build and use. You could also be approaching it from a coordination perspective and saying, I want to actually use like LLMs to help coordinate people better because ultimately, governance is a function of how people work together. And so how do we build social infrastructure? So it kind of has these broad categories, and the goal with Demi was to kind of carve out part of the memetic, concept space and be able to define something that embodied all the different things that need to exist to actually make like more sovereign, governable superintelligence. Demi, like the organization, will be sponsoring $2,000 cash for the best prize, $500 for second place, $250 for third. We also have AMD partnering. Unfortunately, couldn't get Ted in, who's their head of partnerships today. We had a short notice meeting, but they will be one of the judges and also sponsoring a month of AMD compute, as well as a dedicated executive team higher up at AMD, a project manager, and an infra engineer. So you can think of it as if you build something that they see as having good potential in the AMD ecosystem, and AMD is very aligned with wanting to have more options for compute. They want to be your kind of booster pack and be like, there shouldn't be an excuse for you not to be able to like build in their ecosystem. And lastly, we also have Cyberfund, which is a like frontier investment firm that backed the conference this year, will be coming in tomorrow, also one of the judges, and are very interested in like helping promote projects like this, taking them to the next step. So they've been very much on the frontier, investing specifically in this space. You're saying when we have a cybernetic economy, when you have the internet full of these like autonomous agents that are smarter than people. How do we make this a good economy and something that is like balanced for the world? So I encourage you to basically try something you haven't tried before, try an experiment, try a project. It is okay in this hackathon to demo a very early idea, a research discovery, and I think in the demos we want to be talking through like what are things we are learning and thinking about and taking something from the stage you didn't have it before this weekend to like the next step on that. So thank you all for being here, and that's it. We'll kick it off. I'll get back to
Okay. So this is the point at which we turn the mic over to you. But first and foremost, we'd like to collect the ideas that you have. So this is the spreadsheet that we're using both for basically communicating to one another what ideas we might work on, and also once presentations are complete, the order in which we sign up for and present. So my request is that we take the next 3 minutes, so it's 12:24, and in silence, have everyone go to this sheet and include your project ideas or proposals. Now, to be clear, this isn't a commitment. You don't have to do whatever you put up here, but it does tell everyone who could work with you what you could potentially work on. So do please take the next 3 minutes, so we're done 25 after, to have everybody come into the spreadsheet with an idea. For example, it's like I put it here, the library for like developers to download and call local LLMs on users' machines. So if you want to collaborate with me on that, that might be an opportunity for you. But do give others an opportunity to know what you're thinking. So good luck.
How do you get to the spreadsheet?
It was blasted, text blasted to the particle.
Oh.
And there's also a Slack channel to make sure everyone can get into it. So this was also sort of like blasted out on Slack. So do open AGI Slack channel. Do you have the particle and text box?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Could I ask a question on hardware? Kyle, you mentioned AMD is going to be one of the judges. If we got something to work on hardware that's not AMD, is that going to be a penalty?
Yeah, to be clear, it is totally okay. Like I actually explicitly asked them this, and they're not saying this is the like force you to use AMD hackathon. They're saying like if you build something cool and they think they can help take you to the next step, and they want to make sure compute is not the block. Cyberfund is similarly trying to say if you build something that could be a big project, they want to make sure capital is not a block. That's how they think of it. Yeah, and then this room and the people participating make sure that talent is not a block. So now you have 3 of those things that are hopefully addressed in a lot of capacity.
2 minutes to add your idea. Please, everybody do that something. $60 seconds left to record your idea. $30 seconds left. Do get your idea down if you can. Okay, that's time. To be clear, please do continue to add your project ideas, but if you are interested, we are going to turn the mic over to your potential project. So is anyone interested in pitching their project? I guess I'll open, but do jump up. It'll be basically a 60-second short. If I call you down, don't be too offended. But let me open with a quick pitch. So one real instinct that I have is that AI should act like the rest of technology. There shouldn't be a paid API call that forces your code base to interact with a remote company's server, you should have the ability to, like the rest of software, download it for free and use it like everything else. And so, in my opinion, the major bottleneck to building software that works this way is the library that allows a developer to download a model on the machine, whether it be a phone or a computer of the user, and do some computation on that machine. For the developer, this means they don't have to pay for the app that they created. The fear or downside is that the model that's downloaded may not be good enough or may not be capable. And so what you want to judge is what is the best model that can be run on the hardware of the user, and allow the developer to call it. The first version of this will likely just basically create a model that will work on almost any machine, but will eventually make itself aware. And the core idea is this is like default way that, you know, once everyone has like an Apple machine that like quickly can run local models, that people develop apps. And so if you're interested in what I think could be the future of making AI like the rest of software, I'd love to collaborate with you. Who's that? And you give us your name.
Yeah. My name is Matt Morales. I'm building HyperChat. It's a project I started a couple of weeks ago. It's a Mac app that lets you chat in parallel with ChatGPT, Claude, Google, Perplexity, all at the same time, and see the results. And this weekend, I'm going to add Gemma 3N as a local model running on MLX on macOS Apple Silicon. The idea really is that, you know, if you're like me, I have, you know, four monitors at home. I have ChatGPT, I have Google, you know, I've got the Claude, and I'm looking at all of them, and this just lets me ask the same question to all of them and see the responses side by side. Just kind of get maximum AI experience, and just get as much information in my brain as possible. So that's what I'm doing.
It doesn't. Who's next? Going on, yeah.
Hey, I love open source, but open source AI is so expensive to develop. Like GPU time is so expensive to just rent or to own. So my idea is to essentially incentivize open source development and contribution of resources towards open source development via a cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency networks are already based on GPU, and instead of like people just mining Bitcoin, which is wasteful energy, they could contribute it to us who are making open source AI. So the idea is essentially to create a token that will be used, and not only will it be like a kind of control token that cannot be arbitrarily produced like Bitcoin, but it will also have some meaning and value. It can represent a share in the ownership of the collective AI resources developed through this platform. Right, so my name is Ujjwal, and yeah, thank you.
Great, whose idea is next?
I can go.
Yeah. And you can come after. 60 seconds.
Yeah. So hey everyone, my name is Akash. I've been interested in AI and biology for the better part of a year now. But I originally studied CS and philosophy, so I've been thinking a lot about AI safety, especially that we've now seen that Claude Sonnet 4 and Opus 4 have demonstrated misalignment. So we're seeing a lot of fervor around AI scientists and AI lab automation, and I'm thinking about what implications that could have for, say, the potential creation of biological risks. So for this hackathon, I'm going to be trying to enable Claude and O3 to use frontier bio design tools like RF Diffusion, ESM3, Evo2, and tools like AlphaFold, along with databases and other molecular design tools, to see if it can actually meaningfully leverage that, provide reasoning for why it's choosing the designs that it's choosing, and see if it also, you know, creates risky sequences of proteins. But that's what I'm up to. Yeah.
Thank you. So we're doing function research.
I'll go. Wait.
60.
Okay. Yeah, so the thing I've been really interested in is how like we have this like super smart we have super smart computers that we talk to like one-on-one a lot, like ChatGPT and like different like LLMs. Yet we're all still blocked on like Dunbar's number. Like humans ourselves, we have like a contact list of people that we lose track of. We don't keep up with friends, family, and then we have all these like social networks that everyone's kind of like, yeah, I use it, but I'm not really happy about it. I'm really I'm kind of putting those observations together and thinking about like, can we get over Dunbar's number by using the fact that like LLMs can remember everything and they can talk to multiple people at once, and like, can we use that to coordinate, like, could an LLM coordinate a conference or a hackathon or a dinner or incubate a company or like, you know, like, and I think we're starting to see a lot of one-on-one cases with like recruiting and like, you know, specific things, but I'm not seeing like collective emergent coordination from people centered around this that is like, you know, at a larger scale. And I just like, I think there's a ton of societal impact that could happen if you could like coordinate people better. So I'm going to be exploring that in like a research context and see like what I do.
Okay, fantastic. Any other project pitches? Could we go? Anything from one of our new folk who just walked in? Do you want to pitch a project? Okay. Seems like it. Okay, in that case, a few final logistical details. So you're on the 3rd floor of a 4-story mansion. Please don't go upstairs, but please do go downstairs to the floors below this one and below that. Those are all open hack spaces for you to build in, and so feel free to make yourself comfortable. There's a bathroom in this far corner, and a bathroom all the way downstairs. We'll be posting food here for you to eat over the course of the event, so do avail yourselves of it. We'll send messages out over Particle and over Slack, so if you're not in the Slack channel, it was just sent out over the Particle text blast, so please do join it so that we can communicate with you guys and you can communicate with one another. Okay, cool. Any final questions about logistics, the timing of things, pensions, plans? Cool, okay. So yeah, do take full advantage of this moment to conceive of how you can advance intelligence and its democratization and build something that ships. So in my ideal world, people would basically ship GitHub projects that were open source, that encouraged like broader collaboration, you know, ideally made it into GitHub trending. If you ship something that could become a company, shipping the version of that that's paid with users is always really epic. So like last weekend we had a build a company hackathon, and if you do that in the world of democratized compute and create something akin to prime intellect, so for example, your idea of having a token that you can get by contributing to the training of some machine learning model, and having that be, say, your like proof rather than it being wasted in Bitcoin mining, that could certainly be a company, right? So if you can ship that and like get LOIs, that'd be epic, right? So do try to take your project to whatever limits it can be taken to, and yeah, we'll have this ceremony tomorrow with your demonstrations, and we'll anoint the winners. So with that, let the open source AGI hackathon begin.
Did you say something about AlphaFold?
Yes,
I know
I
you were
did.
talking about
Wait,
like
quick question, is this live? Did I just go on live saying I'm gonna